Back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're still with you on this morning's edition of The Breakfast Show. And as promised earlier today, we have a very interesting and pivotal topic under discussion. Of course, the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt represents Egypt's eastern strategic extension. It is, of course, the historical link of Egypt to its Arab neighbors. And of course, the Suez Canal development axis has been billed as the development project of the century that will spur Egypt's growth and development. And to find out more about this very interesting and important development in the Sinai Peninsula and the Suez Canal, we're joined here live in our studios by our guest, Mr. Wajيه الغول, a strategic expert on Sinai. A very good morning to you, sir.
Mr. Wajih, talking about this project, some people believe that this project will boost Egypt's economy and will change our life. On the other side, we have people who believe that it is going to be a disaster. If this is a well-prepared and well-planned project, why it is controversial?
First of all and foremost, we must take a healthy distance between two parties, conflicting parties in Egypt now. We are in Egypt now in a nation divided, so that if we can evaluate or estimate any strategic point such as Sinai or Suez Canal projects, we must do our best to take a healthy distance between Ikhwan, Muslim brotherhoods, and Fulul or post-Mubarak regions. In matter of fact, Suez Canal is one of the great questions in international and world politics and strategies for more than centuries again, from Muhammad Ali reign in Egypt and Bonaparte and etc. etc. In these regions, Suez Canal and Sinai, our raison d'être de Egypt in that regions. So that if we can evaluate these projects, we must first of all think carefully and profoundly in this region, because any imperial or any regional or internal gains can be masked or filled by the projects of developing Suez Canal and Sinai. The draft of law that published now is a catastrophe for Egypt. It contradicts with constitutions, especially from the articles of 22 to 26 relative to the constitutions of power in Egypt. This law disintegrates Suez Canal regions from the Egyptian sovereignty and make independent region, thus against the Egyptian constitutions and against our raison d'être of our nations, so that it is catastrophe. And if we look at the situation in its hand, and we can rethink again and again of it, we must first of all disintegrate all international and regional operations or effects from the equations and to think it in scientific way. In scientific way, Suez Canal and Sinai is the first defense line of the Egyptian state. It is a strategic region, so that any economic or developmental project in this region must be put into considerations militarily, strategically, and economically. We cannot subject the development of Sinai and Suez Canal from economic point of view. That would be a catastrophe for Egypt, because in these regions our national security in this region, so that if we want to discuss development of Sinai or Suez Canal region, we must take into considerations many factors, not economically not economically.
Exactly, because that is really the argument, sir, that their argument for putting through this draft law is that this is an economic windowway, and economically it will uplift the country, and politically it will bind...
Just a minute.
Go ahead.
But what is the other effects?
Indeed.
Yes, I can make projects and gain benefits. And on the other hand, I must focus on the losses.
Indeed, there's positive and negative.
Especially when the losses
are more.
Cannot be faced with us. If we lost Sinai and Suez Canal under economic point of view,
it's a disaster.
But let me ask you something. Why do we need that law? I mean, why don't we make a development project over there to be part of Egypt and to work on it and open the way for new investments to come to Egypt? Why do I need that law to restrict things and to make it as a province and to complicate things? It's maybe a silly question, but many of the people, they want to know why that law, why all these things, we are complicating it.
I know the reason behind that. The reason behind that is that Muslim brotherhoods or ikhwan angling for power for a most of century, and when its member take it, they cannot know what can they do with it. This is the main problem here.
I don't understand.
Yes. When I am as a politician, I must have a project.
Yes.
Upon it, I present myself to the people and gain their support to do that.
Okay.
Ikhwan or Muslim brotherhoods have not any project to...
But they can start this project. Why this law? Why make it a province? Why taking it out of Egypt? Why all this? I mean...
The confusion here is that they lost the estimator and postulate in their minds, so that you can every day listen to contradictory statements, contradictory decisions, contradictory laws, etc., etc. This is the reason behind that, as I know to, that they surprised by the power. They are surprised to have a power and have not any projects or any strategic vision or map to translate this power into concrete aims on the ground. Out of that, Qatar play major role in this strategic domain, and Turkey and United States and till Israel. So that we must focus on the strategic vision for Egypt as well. And Suez Canal, Sinai is a part, integral part of it. We haven't a strategic vision for development of Egypt. And we have not any strategic vision for the future.
Indeed, Mr. الغول, this leads me to my next question, speaking on the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. A lot of challenges are in Sinai. There's the whole issue of the Bedouins. Also, we're discussing discrimination, neglect of Sinai and the people in Sinai. How do you think, aside from this issue, we can develop Sinai as a very important part of Egypt with its people and population and its citizens? Especially since you're an expert in Sinai.
Yeah, thank you. A matter of fact is that Bedouin in Sinai is about 500,000 of people. They are minorities in these regions, and it is impossible to develop Sinai by their indigenous Bedouin. But the question here is, how can we articulate concrete strategic vision to develop Sinai by benefiting from these Bedouins? So that's in Sinai, as it is a fast sands without any development, it is a haven for drug trafficking, for human trafficking, for until gasoline is trafficking now. A liter of gasoline here is about 1.5 liter gypsum. It is sold in Gaza by about 20 liter gypsum.
So
it is a promotive trade. So that's many parties internally, regionally, and internationally don't need cyanide to be developed.
Well, of course, the idea of including Bedouins in the developments in Sinai, this is something very important, and I think the government is working on this. But let me ask you, definitely there must be something that is positive, that we can take it out of this project, away from all what is going on. Just put aside the Muslim Brotherhood and the people and the disputes, all what is going on. But let's take a look, a positive look at such a project. How far can it benefit, or can we take benefit from such a project?
Napoleon Bonaparte have a proverb. It is very important to understand the Egyptian strategy or politically. He said that I don't see in any part of the world any people impacted by their rulers than Egypt. If you want to discuss any matter in a strategic or political way, please look at who ruled Egypt and what is in his mind. That is the big questions here to be discussed. Because Egypt, as the first nation in the dawn of history, have a specific characteristic. So that's who ruled Egypt. If he had strategic visions, such Nasser from 55 to 66, made a vast and concrete development in Egypt out of his point of view, out of his strategic vision. So that, please, when you look at any things in Egypt, focus on who ruled Egypt and what is his ideology and what is his strategic visions, so that we can put aside Ikhwan Muslimin or Muslim Brotherhoods or etc. We must focus on them.
Right. Mr. Wajih الغول, strategic expert on Sinai. I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning on this edition of The Breakfast Show. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we take you to the restoration operations, which have always been on hand, and the sequences as well as the enormous budgets that are spent on these operations. And we will take a look, as a best example could be seen in a Karnak temple. Again, a very interesting feature prepared by our colleague Dina Yunus, and we'll be right back for more on The Breakfast Show. Stay tuned.
Temple in the east bank of Luxor.